Hey, hello, my name is Nathan, and I'm the lead developer working on Myth Mirage. Welcome to our video tutorial for how I made our minimap. We've just released our Steam page, so be sure to give us a wishlist. My map is procedurally generated at runtime, so I'm not able to use other methods that involve taking screenshots, and I decided using a render target would be the simplest way to solve this. This does have performance implications, but I'll show you ways to mitigate this later on. And I'm not rendering any massive cityscapes with thousands of actors, so this works just fine for me. Let's get right into it. So these are all the assets that you're going to need to solve this. We've got a few textures, I've got a circle for enemies, I've got an arrow for the player, and a rounded box for each room. I've kept these white so that way I can dynamically change the colors later. I've converted each of these into sprites, and you can do that with this button here to create a sprite. And then you need a render target, a material for that render target, and this is specifically for UMG, otherwise it won't show up on your user widget. You've got a user widget here and an actor class to house your scene capture component. So let's go ahead and make each of these. Got a user widget. And we'll start off with the canvas panel. Give a cool border and an image. So we'll make it 250 by 250. Make sure our image is the same size. Give it an even padding. And then we'll have to create our render target. And a material for that render target. So we'll open up our material. We'll convert this to a user interface. Then drag our render target onto here. Save that. Now we can go back to our widget, drag the material onto the brush image. And then I've got a cool border image for this. Not too bad. Compile that. Now we're going to need to make our actor class. So this is just going to house our scene capture component. Call it Minimap capture. And all we need here is a scene capture component 2D. We're going to rotate this on the Y so that it's pointing straight down. We're going to change the projection type to orthographic and give it a pretty high width. I'm also going to change the location so that it's kind of high up there so we can capture everything down below. If you don't put this up too high enough and your sprites are above it, then they're not going to show up. I learned that the hard way. So we're going to come down here and add our render target to the texture target here and start unchecking all of these things. And this is our main performance concerns here. Make sure you leave translucency checked, and paper 2D sprites needs to remain checked as well. And we're just removing all these lighting and post-processing effects because we're not going to need any of those. If you do want lighting, I think the main one here is deferred lighting. That'll at least give you some, but also make sure you leave path tracing unchecked here as well. All right, compile that. Now we're going to need to come to our character, and we're going to spawn our actor. I've got this already set up here, but I'll put them side by side so we can compare them. I believe it was this one. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to split this. and attach the character as the owner here, and I'll show you why later. This is just so that we can make sure that the camera is following the character. And then we need to add the widget to our viewport. So we're going to come to our player controller. I've got this set up so that whenever I press Z, we're going to construct a widget here and add it to the viewport. So we've got our Minimap widget that we just created here. We're going to go ahead and compile that. And the last thing we need to do on the character is add the sprite. So you can add this component here. That's going to be a paper sprite component. And I've just added our little arrow and made it green here. So now when we hit play, and I'm going to press Z, and we can see that our character is showing up here as a green little arrow, just as our original example on the right. And I've added other sprites to the rooms, so that way, once we actually get spawned in here, you can see that the camera is not following the character yet. So we're going to have to go back to our capture component, set up a timer here. Make a custom event. Minimap follow. And we're going to get the owner, which is why we said it earlier. We're going to get that actor location. Set actor location. To the location of the owner. We're going to make sure this is looping, and I'll just say 10 times a second is probably good enough. You can always lower this if you want it to look smoother. So now, you can see that it's staying in the center here, so we know it's following. All right. I don't know why those look so different. Maybe, okay, actually, let's see. So on my scene capture component, I chose to hide static meshes. That's what it is. And another thing I noticed was that it wasn't pointing in the direction that I wanted it. I have a compass up at the top that shows you what direction you're facing, and it looked like those were not matching up. So let's go ahead and rotate this. And I think we just want it 90 degrees. All right, so let's see how this turns out. There we go. So now you can see that my character is facing south and the camera looks oriented correctly. So the last thing I wanted to show you is how I set up the rooms. Basically, you just add a sprite just like you did with the character. I've set this as the rounded box here and made it default gray. Come on. My needy boy. And that will trigger this component begin overlap function that will set the minimap color, and I just check what type of room it is and set the sprite color on the sprite itself. Another thing to note is that if you want to hide this from the player itself, like from the main camera, you can search here to make sure it's visible in scene capture only, and this will make sure that you won't see this in the world and you'll only see this on the minimap. Alternatively, you can also hide certain objects in the scene capture this way if your show flags don't quite match up. So it looks like that will be it for today. Go wishlist Myth Mirage on Steam, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment or join our Discord and I'll be happy to answer. I'll leave those links below. Thanks for tuning in.